Imagine a time when women were silenced, their intellectual pursuits stifled by societal norms. Now picture a young woman defying those constraints, her mind a beacon of brilliance in a world intent on dimming her light. This is the story of Sor Juana in S. de la Cruz, a woman often hailed as the first feminist of the Americas. Juana Ramírez de Aspaje, born on November 12, 1648, grew up in a society marked by strict social hierarchies, where legitimacy and class played crucial roles in determining one's status. Although her father, a Spanish military captain named Pedro Manuel de Aspaje, was married to her mother Dua Isabel, Juana and her two sisters, Josefa and Maria, were considered illegitimate due to the informal nature of their parents' union, which was never formally recognized by the church. This lack of formal marriage complicated Juana's social standing. Pedro eventually left the family, although the exact reasons for his departure remain unclear. Juana's maternal grandfather, Pedro Ramírez, who was her mother's father, provided a modest yet comfortable lifestyle for the family. He was part of the local elite, possibly involved in land management or agriculture, which allowed him to accumulate enough wealth to support his daughter and granddaughters. Dua Isabel, though illiterate, skillfully managed the family estates after her husband's departure, ensuring the family lived comfortably and setting a powerful example for her daughters. From a young age, Juana displayed an insatiable thirst for knowledge. At just 3 years old, she secretly followed her older sister to school, desperate to learn. When she discovered that higher education was reserved for men, she begged her mother to let her attend in disguise. Though her request was denied, Juana found solace in her grandfather's library. By her early teens, she had mastered Latin, philosophical debate, and even the Aztec language, Nahuatl. Juana's extraordinary intellect caught the attention of the royal court in Mexico City. At 16, in 1664, she became a lady-in-waiting to the viceroy and his wife, the Marquesa de Montserrat. A lady-in-waiting was a female personal assistant at a royal court, typically attending to a queen, princess, or noblewoman. These positions were often given to young women of noble or well-connected families. Juana's reputation for brilliance and her family's ties to the local elite likely secured her this prestigious role. At court, her plays and poems dazzled the aristocracy, though some of her provocative works stirred controversy. Her famous poem, Foolish Men, which boldly criticized the double standards of the time, accusing men of corrupting women while blaming them for immorality, was published in 1690 in Mexico City as part of her collection Inundación Castellita. Despite, or perhaps because of its controversy, Juana's work inspired admiration and numerous marriage proposals. However, Juana had no interest in marriage. Her true passion was for knowledge. In a patriarchal society where options for women were limited, Juana saw the church as her refuge. At age 20, in 1669, she entered the Hieronymite convent of Santa Paula and took the name Sor Juana in S. de la Cruz. The convent offered her a unique opportunity, the chance to continue her intellectual pursuits while maintaining her independence and respectability. Sor Juana thrived in the convent. She wrote dramas, comedies, philosophical treatises, and religious music. Her extensive library became a hub of intellectual activity, attracting scholars from far and wide. Sor Juana also played vital roles within the convents, serving as treasurer and archivist and protecting her family from exploitation. But Sor Juana's outspokenness eventually led to conflict. In 1690, the Bishop of Puebla, under the pseudonym Sor Filotea de la Cruz, published her private critique of a well-known sermon by Portuguese Jesuit Antonio Vieira. The critique was intended as a scholarly exercise, but the bishop used it as an opportunity to admonish Sor Juana, advising her to focus on prayer and religious devotion rather than intellectual debate. Sor Juana boldly responded with her famous Respuesta a Sor Filotea, where she defended women's right to education and intellectual pursuits, asserting that God would not have given women intellect if he did not intend for them to use it. This response drew the ire of the conservative Archbishop of Mexico, who viewed her stance as dangerously progressive. As a result, Sor Juana began to lose the support and protection of her powerful patrons. The Archbishop and other authorities gradually stripped her of her prestige within the convent. Under immense pressure, Sor Juana was forced to sell her extensive library, a symbol of her intellectual independence, along with her scientific instruments and musical compositions. This marked the beginning of her forced silence, as she was compelled to renounce her literary pursuits and dedicate herself solely to religious devotion. Her final act of defiance was poignant and symbolic. When she renewed her religious vows, Sor Juana signed the document with the words, "Ya la peor de todas," which means "I, the worst of all," written in her own blood. This act took place in the convent, marking her ultimate submission to the Church's authority, while simultaneously expressing her profound sense of martyrdom for her intellectual beliefs. Despite the Church's efforts to suppress her voice, Sor Juana found another way to serve. In 1695, a devastating plague swept through Mexico, affecting many within her convent. Sor Juana, always dedicated to her sisters, tirelessly cared for the sick during this epidemic. Tragically, she contracted the illness herself, likely due to the close and constant contact with the afflicted. Her health rapidly deteriorated, and she succumbed to the plague on April 17, 1695. Within the confines of her convent, the convent of San Jeronimo in Mexico City. Her death marked the end of a life that was a proof of resilience, intellect, and unwavering dedication to both her faith and her pursuit of knowledge, even in the face of immense opposition. Today, Sor Juana is celebrated as the first feminist of the Americas. Her legacy endures through countless documentaries, novels, and operas, and she graces Mexico's 200 peso banknote. As Nobel laureate Octavio Paz eloquently put it, it is not enough to say that Sor Juana's work is a product of history. We must add that history is also a product of her work. Sor Juana's story is a powerful reminder of the enduring struggle for women's rights and the unyielding pursuit of knowledge. Her life, marked by both brilliance and defiance, continues to inspire us to this day.